Hey gang, today's video is sponsored by Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons. Now, I'm sure you're aware, I have been playing MMOs for a long time. Almost 20 years? Oh man, I am old. Well, in those 20 years, I have played many MMORPGs. But Guild Wars 2 is one that I always come back to. And now I have a reason to jump back in it again, because on February 28th, the new expansion, End of Dragons, comes out. Now, our dear friend Crendor would have you believe the biggest reason to come back is the fishing, because that man loves his fishing. And I can already imagine us on that skiff, ferrying each other around, finding all the great fishing spots. But that's Crendor. Me? I wanted to know what was in store for players who weren't exactly into all the water sports. Now, as I mentioned, I played before, and I'm sure you can find all sorts of videos of me dating back to like 2012, playing the game and absolutely raging at the wild jumping puzzles.
If there's a whole other way in there, I will probably kill someone.
Yeah, but you still don't get the achievement called Morgan's Leap. Oh, holy shit. This entire thing is a jumping...
No! That video is so old, but it warms my heart hearing all the voices of the old RPG Maker's crew. Anyway, it has been a while since I've played, and Guild Wars reached out and asked me if I wanted to jump back into the new expansion, so of course, I was excited to do so. I've even got my main, Celis, ready and waiting to go. And lucky for me, all this meant that I got to check out some of the newest content in a recent preview event. Returning to the beloved region of Cantha, we ventured to the Isle of Reflection, the original Xingje arena from Guild Wars 1, which is now a guild capture event, except with much more story than is historically done in the game. It was a pretty great way to get some context for the world, engage in combat, and just goof around. Speaking of goofs, immediately I realized that I have played Guardian for far too long and realized I had no idea about any of the warrior skills. So I was trying to figure out what kind of version of my character I would want to play. Which is, let me just say, one of my favorite parts of the game. You don't have to fill your screen with abilities. Yeah, there are many, but you pick the ones that best suit your build, based on the weapon your profession is wielding. Now sure, there are some professions that are not quite like that, but I'll let the Guild Wars 2 superfans talk about that in the comments below. But yeah, I've always loved that about Guild Wars 2. It sometimes feels like you're playing a MOBA more than an 800 ability MMORPG. And this allows you a bit more freedom. Like, you never really see a tanky mage in most MMORPGs, but here, it's a thing. Anyway, we started the event, and I was immediately hit by how charming it is, the way they use in-game story to disguise things like the event timer by saying that it's some sort of bureaucracy about land permit use. Including little story stuff like that to explain mechanics in-world is always something that is fun for me.
I beat out 2 other applicants to get this internship, so yeah, obviously.
Don't worry, everyone respect the authority of the Ministry of Urban Planning. I have this under control.
The event itself has a scaling system, reducing the number of players that are required to take it, and according to the devs, I think at one point they said either 2 or 3 players had done it by themselves. And that's good news for smaller guilds or people just trying to claim their own solo pad. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel like the new guy coming back to a thing after a while and just sort of soaking it all in and not really trying to be in anyone's way. And even though they threw us right in, I did have a ton of fun though, especially riding on the back of a giant turtle firing rockets at bosses. I have no clue if I actually did damage equal to what my output would have been if I just normally fought, but I'll be honest, I didn't care. It was fun. Also, speaking of bosses, one of the other things I enjoyed going through the event was that you could choose how to tackle the bosses, one at a time, or split up and take on all the bosses in different groups simultaneously, which is what we did, and while it made for longer boss fights, we did have less of them. And then once you take it, and it's yours, you can decorate it, build in it, and do all sorts of stuff. All in all, a pretty fun first experience back. We then went on to do some of the fishing and check out some of the other areas, but I don't claim to know enough to truly give any informed takes. One of the downsides of a guided tour is that you don't really get to explore. And since it's been so long that I kinda had that I'm new here, what the hell's going on? I feel so overwhelmed and love it vibe. It's also where I do my best exploration. But we did get to all ride on turtles again for an assault mission, and let me just say, I do love TURTLE power. The good news is, I will eventually be able to explain all sorts of stuff to you because I'll be jumping back into the game this week on stream to start the adventure all over again, and I'll probably need your help. So, if you want to play along, by all means, come on a wacky adventure with me. I would love for you to be there, or just stop by and watch and tell me what I'm doing wrong. I accept that too. Anyway, that's it for my experience jumping back into Guild Wars 2. I'm very excited to see what kind of changes have been made since last time I played, to see the world, to experience everything anew for the first time, and yet still being familiar to me from the last time I played. So I'll see you all in game.